explain this to you. Anytime his enemies attacked him, he would talk to them. He would never tell them something great that would happen here. He would say, hereafter, you will see me sitting on the right hand of God. That's what he talked about. His greatest desire came out of his heart. And it was to sit at the right hand of the Father. Now you say, what do you mean the right hand of the Father? In a kingdom, you have, God is an emperor. He's not just a king, he's a high king. That's why he's called the highest. When Gabriel appeared to Mary, he says, and the spirit of the highest shall overshadow thee. See that? He is the highest king. He's an emperor. It's a high king. In an emperor's empire, he has so many kings. You're one of them. But this is the thing, and so you got to understand this. It is so much foundation that I got to lay, but I don't have time, but I'm going to share quick bits with you so you can understand. When the apostles, after they had given up everything, they were only walking with him for 3 years, and Peter said, we have forsaken all and have followed you. What will we have? And Jesus says, you will sit on thrones in the next world. See, I believe that we have not prepared the church to understand who we really are. And so the Bible talks about powers of the world to come. Do you not know that God can give you a seat of power in the next life and let you demonstrate that power in this life? That's why it talks about those who once tasted the Holy Ghost and the powers of the world to come. God can let you taste the powers of the next world in this life. And so everything Jesus taught the apostles was kingdom. Someone say kingdom. He says, for this purpose was I born, that I may bear witness to the truth. When Pilate asked him, are you a king? Are you a king? Because that's all they want to know. The Roman Empire or the world or world systems and governments, all they want to know is, do you have authority? Because if you do, they want to kill it. Because Satan is intimidated by kingdom. He don't care if you got a church title, as long as you can't take a city from him, a nation from him, a continent from him. Y'all not talking to me. Or the world from him. And so you got to understand the controversy that was over Jesus' whole life was at birth and death. There was controversy over his birth because they heard a king was going to be born. There was controversy over his death at the cross because they knew he was the king of the Jews. The whole controversy is that he was a king. And you are called to be a king. You're greater than a prophet. You're called to be a king. And I'm talking about a real one. I'm not talking about a Zig Ziglar message. Just saying something so you can shout and, oh, I'm encouraged. No, you need to understand, if the Lord calls you a king, you're really one. And so he also spoke to them in Luke. He talked to them. He says, after they had went through him, after they had given up everything, they passed the next level where he says, you are they which have continued with me in my temptations. And he says, this is what he said to the apostles, and I appoint unto you a kingdom as my Father has appointed unto me. And watch this. He says, and you will sit with me in my kingdom. You will come from your kingdom to my kingdom and sit at my table and eat with me. So you got to understand this, that hear this, an emperor has an empire, a king has a kingdom, a prince has a principality. But an emperor rules a world that is full of kings, and the kingdoms are full of princes and principalities. Do y'all get that? Okay, so when a king goes to an emperor's city, like in Rome, Caesar or the emperor had a seat of power. There were never two thrones there, only one. Are y'all hearing this here? So whenever another king came in that emperor's empire, depending on what level of authority he had, it designated his place. But there was never two thrones in the same city or the imperial city. That's why Jesus says in Revelation to the churches, to you that overcome, will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I overcame and sat with my Father in his throne. So you got to understand, God don't make two thrones. He only make one. And the greatest privilege is to sit with him in his. Okay. So what I'm trying to explain to you, because we know Jesus has been exalted by God, but not above God. God raised him up to sit at the right hand. And so when I was in heaven, I saw this huge throne that God sits on. And then I saw this seat next to God's throne. And I thought it would be a throne in heaven. I thought it would be a throne next to God for Jesus to sit in. And I asked Jesus about that. And he says, David, it is out of order and it is not protocol to have two thrones in the emperor's city. That's why heaven is called the city of God. But Jesus, watch this, the right hand seat is the highest place in the kingdom next to the top person. All right, now watch this. But Jesus has his own kingdom, and he took me there. He has his own kingdom in the universe. God gave him his own kingdom and throne in a whole nother place. Now I'm telling you, heaven is huge. In the next world, if you do what I'm about to say to you, you will sit on thrones ruling whole worlds. Did I miss it tonight to preach on this? So I'm trying to say to you that these guys, Jesus told them, you will sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm establishing a point about the right-hand seat. The right-hand seat is watch this, it is the emperor's best friend. Christ is not just sitting on the right hand of God because he's a son, but he's God's best friend. I can't hear you. Now watch this. This is what you got to understand. That Jesus did not sit on that throne. He did not sit on that throne before he came in the New Testament. He did not have that right hand place. You got to understand, Lucifer wanted to overthrow the throne of God and become king himself. You got to understand that Lucifer saw that right hand place, but he didn't want friendship. He wanted the throne. He wanted authority. Oh, y'all not talking to me. Now, I'm preaching something because I know a lot of pastors go through Absalom spirits and satanic spirits that don't want to honor the authority, and they think they're higher than them. Instead of wanting a seat or a relationship, they want the authority. Lucifer saw that right-hand seat from the beginning. He didn't want that. But it says Jesus, being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God, but made himself of no reputation. He came all the way down just to get that seat. Just to be exalted on the right hand of God. He didn't want God's throne. He wanted God's friendship. And because he overcame and wanted the friendship and had the right heart, God says, you can sit with me in my throne.